Hello tankers, this is NK33 and you probably have heard about the offer that's going on over the month of July on the FV201, the A45 British medium, British heavy premium tank. The basic way of obtaining it is to either purchase it or play for the keys and then get 200 enemy kills and 200,000 experience in the A45. Well, I figured I'd do a review of the A45 and see if you even wanted to go for it. The strengths and weaknesses, comparing it to a few of the other tanks in the British tree, and also a few alternate ways of getting it. So I hope this will be of some use to you. We are in Tank Viewer, and that is the A45, the FV201, and let's look up the armor. Now it's premium, so we can't adjust the turret and we can't adjust the gun or any other things. It comes as is. The best armor, 152 millimeters, is the gun mantelet, with the cheeks and the front of this little machine gun turret. 109 millimeters on that strip. 88.9 on the sides of the turret. The front glacis upper and lower is 76.2. The rest of that machine gun turret is 69.6. So that machine gun turret is really not a weakness. It's pretty tough. 50.8 for the sides and the top of the turret. 38.1 for the behind. And on the top, that little machine gun turret is actually the best armored roof, has got the best roof of any part of the tank. And of course the tracks are 25 points of armor. Now for this spaced armor, you've got the 152. Now that machine gun port is not a weak spot. It's armored just as well as the rest of the gun mantelet. So looking at the armor, this tank really doesn't have any specific weak points to aim at, except possibly this little gun turret. But it's pretty tough from the front, and it's tougher than the side of the tank. So that's sort of not a weak point. Let's look up Armor Inspector. Enable it. Look at the collision. Move it over here. Now, because this front plate is only 76.2 millimeters, that's about 3 inches, it is a considerable weak point for a heavy tank. So what this tank could be used for quite a bit is side scraping. However, let me show you what the side scraping would do. Now, side scraping is basically hiding most of the tank behind a building using this post and angling the side armor. Now, with the Armor Inspector, you hit Control and click on a point, and let's go over here. And so you get 6 millimeters. That's that side plate. Now, that side plate, even though it's only 6 millimeters, that will detonate a heat round, so that will increase your resistance to heat rounds. But it's only 6 millimeters, so it won't have that much effect on standard armor piercing or APCR. The track is 25 millimeters of armor, and angled this way, the 50 millimeters of side armor is 116 effective. So it's not terrific. But the problem is you can't angle it too much more, or you're not going to be able to use the to shoot at the target. Now, the trick that you're going to have to use with this tank is something that's called reverse side scraping. And I'll show you that. Now, in reverse side scraping, you're again behind a building, but in this case, you've got the butt of the tank hidden, and you've got the turret sort of looking over its shoulder. Now, as you can see, this is at a much sharper angle. Now, if we fire again at this spaced armor, Control, click, go to the armor inspector, and that gets the armor up to the 6 millimeters of armor up to 7. The tracks are the standard 25, and the 50 millimeters of armor is now 150. Now that's not terrific for a tier 7, but it's probably pretty good. Now the only disadvantage you've got is, I was saying that the machine gun turret isn't a weak spot. If you're reverse side scraping like this, that 69 millimeters of armor is almost flat, so it's only 71. So reverse side scraping is going to be probably the best for the tank, but it makes that machine gun turret there a weak point. So, you might have to reverse side scrape looking at this side so you don't have the machine gun turret weak point. This is Tank Compare, and we're looking at the FV201, the A45 versus the TOG-2 and the Carnarvon. Now the Carnarvon is going to be stock. The TOG-2 is a tier 6 heavy tank. The Carnarvon is a tier 8 heavy tank, British. And I'm looking at the Carnarvon stock because, fully elite, it's obviously going to be superior to a tier 7. But as a stock, it's pretty comparable. The matchmaker, the TOG has preferential matchmaking, which is one of the reasons it was removed from the game. Or I should say removed from being able to be purchased. Hit points are comparable. It's higher than the TOG's. Signal range is better than the stock radio. Its speed is comparable to the Carnarvon, although it can back up a lot faster. It's far superior to the TOG. The TOG is famous for its slowness. The hull armor is on the sides and rear is comparable to the Carnarvon, although the Carnarvon has a much better front plate, and it's comparable to the TOG. The armor on the turret is comparable to the Carnarvon, although its sides and rear are a little weaker. So basically what you're looking at is it's a Carnarvon with a weak front plate. It's got a better engine, so it's got a better horsepower per ton rating, and it's much better than the TOG. Its traverse speed is a lot quicker. The terrain resistance is a little better than both the TOG and the Carnarvon, although the TOG does have a slight advantage on medium terrain resistance. TOG's also a diesel, so it's got less chance of fire. View range is the best of all three. Turret traverse is the best of all three for the A45. Now, the guns are all the same. They're the British 17-pounder, so your damage, the penetration of the rounds and the premium rounds is the same. Cost of ammunition is the same. Main difference is your DPM and, of course, your rate of fire. Now, the A45 actually has a better rate of fire than the Carnarvon, which is a tier higher. Its accuracy is not as good as the other two. It's not as good as the TOG, and it's not as good as the Carnarvon. Aim times are the same. The gun depression is the same as the TOG, and it's slightly better than the Carnarvon, and it's got more rounds than the Carnarvon, but not as many as the TOG. So basically, as I said, you've got a stock Carnarvon with thinner front armor and slightly weaker sides and rear armor on the turret. Now let's take a look at something that's a little fairer comparison, the FV201 A4 Challenger versus the Tier 7 British Heavy, the Black Prince, and the British Tier 7 tank destroyer, the Challenger. Now in this case we're going to be using the top values of those two tanks, and again, because it's a premium, there's no top or stock difference. Hit points, it's got the advantage over the British Heavy and the British Tank Destroyer. Signal range isn't as good as the fully elite versions. It's faster than the Black Prince, but it's not as fast as the Challenger, although its speed in reverse is pretty close. The armor is comparable to the Challenger's hull armor. The turret armor is comparable to the Black Prince, although the rear armor of the Challenger is very heavy. So, if you're driving a Challenger, you might want to turn the turret so the rear of the turret is facing forward, because it's got 200 millimeters of armor. That's actually a counterweight that they modeled in there. It's blocks of concrete to deal with the weight of the 17-pounder. So, it doesn't have the front glacis of either of the two, so that's a weak point. Engine power is better. The horsepower per ton ratio is better than the Black Prince, but it's not as good as the Challenger. But the traverse speed is almost as good as the Challenger's. Terrain resistance is comparable to the Black Prince. The Challenger is much better. It's a lighter tank. The 17-pounder guns are, again, exactly the same. Same damage, same penetration, same cost of ammunition. The DPM, the Challenger has the best DPM because it's got the best fire rate. The Black Prince has a slower fire rate than the A45, but the A45 has the worst aim time. The Challenger's the best, or I should say the accuracy. The Challenger also has a quicker aim time with a 17-pounder. The elevation is the same for the Challenger, and the A45 carries more rounds than the Challenger, but not as much as the Black Prince. So it's comparable. It's a different machine, but it's comparable to the other British Tier 7s. Again, the weak point is this, the front glacis. The hull armor is not as strong as in the other Tier 7s. In fact, it's comparable to the Tier 6 TOG. Now, the obvious question is, how do you get the tank? Well, starting on Wednesday, July 1st, you have these numbers which indicate how many keys you can win. Now, the keys are you win by getting 15,000 experience. Now, that 15,000 experience, that doesn't mean that you have to do it 4 times to win a key. 15,000 experience earned on July 1st it earns you 4 keys. 15,000 experience on July 2nd earns you 1. And that's how the numbers all stack up. You need a total of 45 keys, and while you're getting the keys, they have these additional rewards. This is similar to the operation a couple of months ago where you were trying to get all of the rewards, the T1, and then finally you got the SU100Y, but you got some additional things along the way by collecting this. Now, once you've got the 45 keys, you'll need an additional 200,000 experience and 200 enemy vehicles destroyed in the FV201. Now, that's the option that you take if you don't want to spend any money and you're confident in your ability to, win the keys in enough time to gather this 200,000 experience. The other 2 options that you've got are, if you're getting a little low on keys and time and you want to accelerate that, you can buy some of these keys, or you can buy the full 45. and you can buy the license, which is what you'd get with this 200 XP and 200 killed, or you can buy the tank straight out. Now, if you do the math, you've got 44, 55, and 14.99. It's actually a little cheaper to buy all 45 keys and then the license than it is to buy the tank straight out. I mean, 5 cents, but you know, a nickel's a nickel. Now, some important details. This is the WoT forum. First experience victory multipliers do go to your XP. Now that, I believe that implies both 15,000 you need to get the keys every day and the 200,000 to unlock the final tank. Premium account bonus is the same. Stronghold and other modes don't count, but your stronghold bonuses and your personal reserves do count. So, for example, if you get this 5% XP booster on your 5th key, that will apply to getting your other keys and getting your license. Now, here's the other important element. Gold compensation for unused premium shop purchased keys is 250 gold per purchased and 3,024 gold for the tank. So I believe what you can do is go ahead and buy your 45 keys and then work on grinding out your 45 keys, and you should get paid. I'm assuming that you will get paid your 250 gold per key, and if you've already got the license you've purchased, if you're able to get the 200 dead vehicles and 200,000 experience, then you get your 3,000 gold. Another item, I will include these links in the video description. So yeah, the personal reserves and stronghold count, so that's edited. So basically, what the 3 ways you can do this is you can just grind, pure grind, no money. That's 15,000 per key, and then 200,000 XP and 200 destroyed vehicles. You can supplement yourself with money by buying keys, and then if you can't grind the last bit out, you can buy the license for $15. You can of course just purchase the thing and forget the grind completely. The third option is go ahead and do your purchase, do the grind as best you can, and you should be getting gold as well as these other rewards for for doing your grind and working on the tank. So I leave it up to you if you think the tank is worth it, and if you think the grind is worth it, or if you think the money is worth it. So you can pick and choose your path. It's a pretty wide open way of doing it. I'm probably going to go ahead and do the grind after I've paid the $60, and hopefully I'll be getting the gold. I'll also be getting all of these goodies. I hope this video has helped you, and if it has, please go ahead and click the like button, or you can subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.